Welcome, fight fans, to the Hooks In MMA podcast. In this episode tonight, we're going to be previewing the upcoming Fight Island pay-per-view happening Saturday night in Abu Dhabi. First, we're going to be kicking things off with hot headline news. We've got a disturbing video that was released last night of Mike Perry that we'll be breaking down shot for shot. Then we're getting into the Jorge Masvidal quick replacement on 1 week's notice versus Usman. And then we'll be just breaking down some of the other fights happening on the card. We've got two great guest interviews coming up. First, we have John the Bull Makdessi, UFC legend with 17 career fights, fighting out of TriStar Gym in Quebec, and a local legend, Jeff the Inferno Joslin. He's a Hamilton boy, UFC veteran as well, and he's going to be coming on to talk about his MMA experience. Finally, we slide right into Easy Line so you can get ahead of the book on this weekend's pay-per-view, and we'll be giving you our expert picks. Handing things off to Adam Davidson, let's begin the hot headline news.
Thanks, Ben. First topic of the night is Mike Perry. I've only seen the video. I'm not sure what happened. Perhaps he saw the tax on his bill and he started swinging. I don't know if any of you guys have all the details. Maybe you could fill us in.
Yeah, so apparently Mike Perry thought somebody was chirping his girlfriend, didn't take too kindly to that, smacked that guy in the head. Somebody else tried to intervene. He punched that guy. Apparently then the second victim's girlfriend jumped in, and Perry claims that she was clawing at him, trying to claw his face. So he hit her too. And then as he was trying to leave, Perry says, and this is the best one because there's a video of it that shows this didn't happen. Perry claims that the third guy was grabbing his shirt, putting his hands all over Perry's face, so Perry knocked him out. And yeah, the rest is history. Seems, I don't know, maybe he was a little drunk, maybe he was a little angry about that sales tax, like you're saying, son, who knows?
Yeah, no, I mean, I was just starting to, feel like Mike Perry was on the right train there, even though I was concerned about that, that corner thing with his girlfriend and everything. But, hey, the man knows what he likes. He feels comfortable with her, and he showed it that night on the fight. But now, he takes a turn for the worse, pulls like a McGregor-type thing here when his career was kind of looking on an upward turn. So I'm kind of mad or upset about that, I guess. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Do you guys think is it going to be like actual police charges, or was he actually charged or something? I didn't look it up.
$500 charge, but there's going to be a lot more.
There's going to be more.
I saw that the UFC says that they want him to enter into like an alcoholics program before they let him back in. But if he has criminal charges, I don't think he would be back, would he?
No, well, he's also got a history. He's got like multiple assault charges. He's already done time from back when he was living in Flint. Doesn't look good. When you got priors and then you starch some old guy on camera.
Yeah.
So you go from like Conor McGregor and the biggest name in the sport and making the most money, doing something like that in Ireland to an older guy in the bar. And pretty sure he's got the money on the side to maybe pay him off. Mike Perry fights Mickey Gall, who's barely beaten anyone, and his girlfriend's cornering him in that fight. He has no fight team with him. And afterwards in the interview, all he's talking about is how he owes hundreds of thousands of dollars to different countries. And I'm pretty sure based on that comment that he's going to be unable to pay the 2 or 3 guys he knocked out on the side. So he's going to be in a lot of trouble. He got fined. He'll likely be charged. He might even be sued. And he went from having a girlfriend in his corner who's supporting him fighting to no girlfriend and a lawsuit and probably going to be owing a lot more money. So not a good situation.
On the plus side for his girlfriend there, though, she quadrupled her corner experience in one night.
And she's undefeated.
One fight cornering to 4 fights in one night.
And she's undefeated in his corner. So
one of the best MMA coaches out there. Love it.
Yeah, she'll be at Jackson Wink or Team Alpha Male in the next few weeks.
Hopefully she got that SUV from him before he dumped her ass here, or she dumped him, or whatever the hell happened.
Oh yes, I saw that.
My prediction is this weekend Paige Van Zandt gets choked out, and then they bring in Mike Perry's girlfriend to fight her on in the next month or two.
Oh.
Well, hopefully he can turn things around. Like you said, he was just on the, he just had a huge win, and then he does something stupid like this.
Yeah, I was, I've always been a huge Mike Perry fan. I mean, how could you not? He says hilarious things, and
yeah, he's hilarious.
Every single fight is so entertaining, right? So
he's actually really likable, but he's got that rough, rugged side to him, and it came out after a few drinks. Like he left his team, right? He left his team because didn't like the way that the coaches were telling him what to do. So he leaves his team, his girlfriend's in his corner, which was like a huge story, right? Then after he gets this win and he's feeling good and his girl's there and everything's kind of moving towards, he's talking about going down to Florida and joining a fight camp. And it feels like he was on his way there, and like maybe just before he finds the right camp or the right situation, has a couple too many drinks. And he does this act last night. He's dropping the N-bomb a few times. He's calling his girlfriend saying she's not even in his side. She's a bitch and all this stuff. Like, man, like I know alcohol could change you, but like his real personality, I think, kind of came out, and he's going to regret this for a long time. It's
well, he seems like a pretty crazy guy without alcohol, right? Like I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sure it's the last thing that Mike Perry needs, but hopefully he doesn't get any serious charges and he can maybe get cleaned up and come back to the UFC. But that's unfortunate to see.
You know what's really to blame is Florida not keeping their bars closed for COVID.
Yeah, exactly.
They just follow the rules and keep their bars closed. Mike Perry's free and clear, training at his camp.
Yeah, so really it's the state of Florida's fault.
It's 100%.
Yeah.
Solid defense there.
Opening beaches too early, like 4,000 or 5,000 people a day getting COVID. Like, what a terrible state. Go Bucks.
What do you guys think about Masvidal stepping it up week before the fight? Burns obviously tested positive for COVID.
I took her out for like
Earning that BMF title.
Is that Mike Perry's girlfriend in the background?
She's cornering us right now. She's giving us tips. No, but I think with the Masvidal, I mean, it's just kind of ironic, right? I mean, he was the original guy that should have been in there. And they, of course, backed away from the negotiation table. UFC Dixie he asked for too much money. Burns test positive. Now we're back to the original guy. So the replacement is the original guy now. And I mean, I in terms of that fight, it's going to be very interesting. He was training with Dustin Poirier, right, leading up to this fight. So people were saying that he's not necessarily ready, but I don't know. I think going into it, he's going to be certainly mentally ready, but physically as well, I think.
Yeah, I personally, if I had to take a guess, I would say that since the Masvidal-Usman fight was supposed to happen before, potentially, they put in a positive COVID test for Burns. They put it in on purpose so that they could gain more revenue in Fight Island. No, on a more serious note, though, I do think this is the fight that the people wanted to see. The actual better fight between two guys is Usman and Burns, just the way that they match up. I think that would have been very interesting stylistically. The jiu-jitsu, the stand-up, the pressure, the wrestling, all that stuff. But the fight that the people want to see and that we're all excited for on Saturday night is Masvidal Usman.
Fucking Street Jesus.
Marty Snoozman against Street Jesus. Really looking forward to that. It's a great shirt right there, Son. Explains the whole situation. But Masvidal's a legend. He fought in the streets. He's come all the way up to this point, and if he wins on Saturday, that's 4 wins in a row. He's the champ, and he's full circle. This is like, this is making records and completely making all the fans of Street Jesus really happy.
Plus,
I know it's hypothetical though, just talking about the different two matchups. What would the pay-per-view buys would have been if it was still Burns
Good
versus
point.
now with
Way
Masvidal?
more
I know.
buys.
Good
Yeah,
point.
I know we can't ever see what that original revenue would have been, but something
and
tells
like,
me it's going to be significantly higher.
Yeah,
I
I
good
think
point.
Chael Sonnen was saying he thinks it's like 400,000 is
Oh,
the
yeah?
difference. Yeah, that's what he was saying, which is pretty high in
It
my
sound-
opinion. I'm not sure about
I think
that.
that's
but-
almost
that
conservative.
sounds somewhat.
Really, eh?
Yeah.
I
yeah, I
think
can see
so.
that for sure.
Like all the buzz now over the last week, like everyone that I know likes UFC everyone's talking about it.
oh,
Whereas
Well,
before
in terms of
it
the
was-
difference, right? 400,000 in terms of the difference, right?
But there
But-
wasn't
So-
much. I don't know. There wasn't
My-
much hype
yeah.
around the original.
I think there was more buzz about the Volkanovski Holloway
Yes.
fight than there was about Usman Burns.
That's right.
yeah.
And
That's
And
true.
you want-
That's true. In the
you
main
want
Maz is
your
about as
main-
close as to McGregor as you can get without actually having McGregor on a card.
Yeah.
My buddy that I used to work with, he was a professional Muay Thai fighter, and his favorite fighter of all time is Masvidal. He said earlier this week, since they brought Masvidal back on, he's actually going to buy the pay-per-view. If it was Burns and Usman, he wasn't gonna. So I mean,
Yeah, well,
that's just one guy, but that's what Masvidal does. He pushes the needle.
If you
And
look
you want
at
to drop his name on here so we can send it to UFC and be like, this guy's stealing your pay-per-views?
What's that? What's that?
Drop his name. We'll send it to the UFC.
Whose name?
Your buddy. Throwing him under the bus, streaming pay-per-views.
No, I can't do that. He's going to get us some hookups for interviews from the Black Zillion.
well, if you look at Usman's past, like most of the time he's Marty Snoozman if he's fighting another wrestler type fighter. You know, the last fight against Covington, you know, it was two wrestlers. You know, it was all stand up. That's what I think is going to happen. I think people underestimate Masvidal's wrestling. He has 79% takedown defense or something. I'm hoping it's another stand and bang, just like Usman's last fight. As much as I love wrestling and jiu-jitsu, I'd love to see these guys stand up and just a slugfest.
You do love wrestling, Son?
Oh yeah.
Oh. Thought you hated it.
Well,
It's okay. I like seeing the exchanges. I just don't like when, you know, guys lie on top of each other and they don't do much.
Expensive.
You guys
Some
think
guys-
that if Usman starts seeing Maz slow down at all, do you think he's going to pursue the finish, or do you think it'd be a lay and pray for 5 rounds?
I don't know. It's hard to say. I'm sure Usman's going to try to take down Masvidal. I just hope that Masvidal can keep the distance and keep it standing, but we'll find out.
I
Only
think
they had a
Usman-
$50K bonus for every finish.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think old Marty's going to pursue it pretty hard. He seems pretty jealous of the heat that Masvidal's generating on this. Apparently, Masvidal's manager was saying Usman's been calling the UFC and asking them to put him in national spots instead of Masvidal for the commercial spots. He's all pissed off about it.
Yeah, but he's kind of a boring champion though. Like he has no trash talk. You don't see him in the media ever. Like if you weren't a UFC fan, you wouldn't even know Usman was the champ. Like you can imagine if Masvidal was champ, or say Colby Covington beat Usman, like he would just be chirping
Actually,
everyone.
the chirp between
all
him
year
and Masvidal would be unbelievable because he used to train together.
Yes.
They
Yeah.
absolutely
Oh my God.
fucking hate each other. That would actually be great TV.
A great storyline, right?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
earlier today, Masvidal was talking about, people were saying, so like, why did you sign it so quick? Like, how come there were so many issues before about signing, and ultimately it didn't happen, and they ended up giving it to Burns. And he was like, do you think I would have signed it if I didn't get the proper compensation? Do you think I would have signed it if I wasn't going to get, pay-per-view points? So he's happy. I think they found a way. They found a middle ground. Dana probably gave in a little bit, which he normally doesn't, because he had a week's notice to do so. And that's the fight everybody wanted to see. So it all worked out.
That's the crazy thing about it, right? Or like interesting, I think, is that, I mean, all of a sudden UFC now has the money to pay him before they didn't, or they weren't willing to.
Yeah.
So, but now all of a sudden they are 1 week before. Like, it's like, come on, guys. Like, you know, but it's very clear that they will easily move on to the next guy, even though Masvidal is the biggest draw, as we just said, and we all agree on. They were still very willing to move on to Burns. They're just like, fuck it, we don't care. We're just going to start, you know.
So stubborn. So stubborn.
And props to Usman.
Yes.
Props to Usman, too, for taking the fight. Like,
true.
Masvidal's a completely different fighter than Burns, and he's still willing to fight him, right? So you got to give him some props there.
So I do agree with you, but at the same point, you know, Usman was training for Masvidal for months and months, so he just had to kind of circle back and refocus on some things. But still, he signed it and said, you know, I'm the champ and I'll do it. So Covington also, they said Dana White was never in the running for this short notice fight, so I think they really wanted to get it done with Masvidal.
Yeah.
So if Masvidal wins, is he going to fight McGregor next then, or what's going to happen there, you guys think?
That's the money fight to make.
That would be amazing.
That would be the biggest one.
Welterweight title on the line. Chance to make McGregor the quadruple champ.
Yeah. And that could line up nicely for like holiday season this year too, right? Barring any crazy injuries or setbacks, that could be like,
you know what's actually crazy too is today Dana did an interview and he said he's pretty sure McGregor's going to fight early next year.
He did say
that. Though he's retired now, he's waiting to see how these next two fights shake out. And the two fights obviously have to be Khabib, Gaethje, and this. There's no other two fights.
Does retiring mean anything anymore? Like,
well, he's already retired like 3 times before.
Thanks, Brett Favre.
Triple C retired, and the next day he had an interview with Ariel saying that he would come back if the money was right. That doesn't sound like retirement to me, but
So for just based on what you said, for me, if Khabib beats Gaethje, I think McGregor wants that. If Gaethje wins, I'm not sure if he does. If Usman beats Masvidal, I don't think he wants that. He may still sign that, but if Masvidal wins, he wants that. It's like whatever one's the money fight, and the rematch with Khabib, I know he really wants, and I know he wants to fight Masvidal. So
which I don't know which one would be the bigger money fight though.
I'd say Masvidal. Man.
So, eh?
I do.
Just the way he markets himself, right?
Yeah, and you've already seen what happens when he fights Khabib. So
I think the Maz fight is honestly a toss-up.
Yeah.
For Conor Maz.
Oh yeah.
And it could be for the baddest motherfucker title and the welterweight title.
Exactly.
It could be a double. That would be huge.
Yeah. Almost like 2 semifinals going to the final.
Yeah, the Intercontinental title and the heavyweight title in WWE.
So many belts.
Tag team.
Yep. The tag team title.
Imagine.
Winner fights Nick Diaz.
Oh.
Heard it here first. He has to fight Nate.
Yeah.
What a twist.
And then GSP comes out of retirement.
Yeah.
There's this conspiracy theory. We've got to map out.
Yeah.
So boys, couple of the other fights. What are you guys feeling? What are you feeling from Fight Island here?
Should we get right into the easy picks?
Well, no, just couple more minutes. I think we have a couple minutes left. So just what are we feeling?
Couple quick previews before the interviews.
Yeah. What are we feeling?
What do you guys think of the Max Holloway Volkanovski fight? What do you guys think about that?
I think Holloway is coming back with a vengeance. I think people are sleeping on him. I think he's been making shit up about training on Zoom, and I think he's going to come back and he's going to put the pace on early. Because we all saw what happened last fight. End of the 4th round, start of the 5th round, he started taking over big time when he turned up the pace.
And we were talking about that the other day, and I looked at the scorecards today. One judge had Volkanovski winning all 5 rounds. Like, that's insane. Stupid. It's insane.
That fight could have been a draw.
Well, I don't know about that, but he won 4 and 5, I think, and maybe one of them he didn't. He definitely won at least one round.
He definitely won 5.
Yeah, the judge that said 5 full rounds for Volkanovski, no way in hell.
No. That actually goes back to what Rogan was saying too. He said about the win bonuses, how people are being fucking robbed because there's incompetent judges.
Right.
Yeah. Well, we talk about that all the
We
time.
see it
The
week
10-9
after
on
week.
here. Yep.
Yeah, week after week.
So what do you guys
Reoccurring.
think if there's a 5-round fight and an opponent wins the first 3 rounds and then say the other guy wins 4 and 5? Don't you think that the last 2 rounds are the biggest rounds? Like they would hold
The
more weight?
championship rounds. That's a great point. So
Yeah.
It depends on
There's
on
a
how-
bias.
in the 10-9 scoring system, the guy that won the first 3 wins. So it depends. Like, do judges like go round by round and rate 10-9 all the way to the end, and then the guy that won 4 and 5 won 10-9? Do you think they circle back and say like, nope, that the champ actually wasn't really beaten? They won 4 and 5, the championship.
Yeah, because
you think they circle back? Like, actually,
sometimes you think like if there's a 6th round, like that guy's gonna lose. Like that guy's, the
If
other
it
guy's
continues,
gassed.
That's kind of do you guys remember back with Pride, they used to do the 2 first round were 3 minutes or 5 minutes, I can't remember. Then they had a 10-minute third round.
final
10-minute round was worth way more than the first 2 rounds.
That's right. It was more weighted to the back
They
half.
should just fight straight for 20 minutes.
Yeah, that Volkov
Overtime.
Blades one. That's why I was saying if it went like 6-7 rounds, which is unrealistic. Like, I think Volkov might have won that. Like he was really turning it on near the end.
Well, we've always
Blades
joked
played
about
with
it. 6th round sudden death of overtime.
Yeah.
Like, just go.
And our interview this week, our guest, John the Bull Makdessi, he was talking about rounds as well. He said MMA and UFC, not UFC, I guess, MMA has it wrong with the 3 times 5 minute rounds. He says it should be like 3 minute rounds, almost like boxing, times 10. He wanted like 10 rounds times 3.
Short spurts.
Yeah.
More sample sizes, right?
Yeah.
And then it's more accurate in terms of
and going back to your
overall.
corners, really quick adjustments on the fly. Like there's even more instead of just at the end of round 1 and at the end of round 2, just 2 times.
There's some ice on the mouse, and
I think for sure they need 5 judges instead of 3. Like I think
bigger sample.
We all agree on that, but there's also like they score strikes, like guys could just be jabbing with no weight on it, they're getting mad points, and then the other guy is landing a couple of haymakers, probably doing way more damage, but the guy throwing jabs wins the round. I don't know if I agree with that.
Like it's like Kron says too, like so subjective. Makdessi also said, he said the crazy part in boxing, because he was a huge boxing fan, he was a kickboxer before MMA, he said the crazy thing is you can actually not throw a punch in a whole round and win the round in boxing because they're talking about defensive movement, using your feet, your head. They're throwing so many punches. You get points for defense where you don't in MMA. He said they should switch it.
Elusiveness.
I don't remember who he did it against, but Mayweather did that.
And he referenced Floyd as well. So you're right. He did.
So on that point, let's kick it over.
All right, next up on the Hooks In MMA podcast, we have Canadian legend and worldwide legend, John the Bull Makdessi. How's it going today, John?
I'm doing good, brother. How are you?
Good, thanks. So we were just chatting a little bit earlier about a bunch of various topics. If we could continue chatting about what were we engaging in? Yeah,
we're talking about Mazadov, how he, the status that he accomplished in his fighting career.
Yeah, so we were talking about where he started off, fighting in the streets, and then kind of building his resume up in terms of who he was fighting, the styles he was fighting, and where he ended up. And now he's getting this short notice fight. He was supposed to fight Usman originally. He ended up getting in contract negotiations and felt he was deserved more money. He dropped out. Gilbert Burns filled in, and now Gilbert Burns came back with a COVID-19 test, a positive test, and now Masvidal quickly signed the contract, and he's back in to fight this weekend, Saturday, against Usman for the title.
Exactly. So as to answer your question about, I respect him as a fighter, but I don't like the way he's approaching the way he's trying to sell himself as a. He's, like if I'm a younger generation, if I'm a younger, if I'm an adolescent, I'm a teenager, and I'm looking up to a role model like that, it's just they're giving the giving the public the wrong image of fighting and what the sport is all about. Because people kind of forget, as in the business part of things, you got to sell yourself, but it is the essential is martial arts. And martial arts, it's all about discipline and it's all about self-respect and respecting other people.
Yeah, and we talked about earlier, you said you came from a Lebanese family, and mom and dad, you know, they could look at you a certain way. There's a level of respect that you grow up in, a mentality as you're younger growing up. I also had that. I had a German father that, you know, there was no bullshit in the house. It's, you're going to listen to what I'm going to do. I'm going to, you know, I'm going to guide you in the right direction. But if you veer off on your own and think you're going to do your own shit, it's not going to happen. It's not going to fly under this roof. There's a level of respect. And I guess we both feel that Masvidal has kind of veered away from his direction and he's become a different person than he was earlier on in his career.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? I understand the business, right? I understand that he's trying to sell himself, but there's also a form of, I just believe that he's just being too fake, you know what I mean? Because you can tell, you know, he wasn't like that in the beginning of his career. Because if you were like that in the beginning of your career, like you look at Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor in the beginning of his career, he was always manifesting, you know, I'm the best, I'm gonna be a UFC fighter, I'm a world champion. He believed in himself, he believed in his team. He had a good support system, and he had Ireland backing him up, and also his work ethic. You know, he was going in there knocking out guys. So if you look at Conor McGregor from his beginning of his career, when he was king of the cage, up to the stardom that he achieved in the fighting business, he was always that character, and that's how he is. But this guy Masvidal, you can tell in the beginning he was a street fighter. You know, he had a lot of ups and downs, and now he's touching some success in his career. And all of a sudden, he's dressing up. You know, he's showing off the bling bling, and he's dressing up with the nice robe and going into the private jet, and he's talking all that big talk. You know, so Saturday night he has a big challenge in front of him, and I really believe Usman is gonna destroy him.
Yeah, and we talk, you know, about a few different things on our podcast here at Hooks In, and I think, you know, the majority of us are going to say the same thing. Usman's a different beast. He's all business, which I feel, you know, based on what we talked about before, John Makdessi is all business too. And, you know, Masvidal posts a picture today. He's on a plane or on a jet, and he's eating a whole thing of pizza. And, you know, kind of just showing off, like, what kind of lifestyle is that when you fight in 4 or 5 days? Like, how serious are you taking this? So,
yeah, unfortunately, like I said, he's like, see, this is the funny part, okay? Most people don't know this because I'm in the fighting business. Like, I'm inside of it. Like, this is my fucking world. It consumes me, right? All I do is I eat, sleep, shit, MMA. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yep.
So everybody's trying to take a page from Floyd Mayweather. Everybody. Like, including myself, I have to confess, we're all attracted to that, you know, making the big bucks, you know, having all the material, like the world, like we live in a material world. It's very
materialistic,
easy.
yeah.
Yeah, you know, this guy lives the best life ever. As a fighter, if you look at him as a fighter, as a business, he has his own umbrella, he has his own team, and he's making, in one fight, he generates 8 figures. Like, think about that. In one fight, he makes $500,000. I think even more than that. I don't know how much money he makes, but forget about the money part. But everybody tries to take a page off Floyd. So, and you can tell that he's trying to play a Floyd card, you know, like Conor McGregor did it very well in the UFC, you know. But you can tell when Conor McGregor went into the boxing world, when Floyd, and once he was, I don't know if you're following, because me, I love the whole build up with Floyd and Conor, and they'll
that was
when
awesome.
they're doing the tour, like they go to I don't know which big cities they're going, and they're they're talking trash to each other and they're selling the fight. I was like fucking.
That's
I'm
me.
like, man, I'm like, you can look at Conor McGregor and look at Floyd. Like you're like, if I was Conor McGregor, okay, I would just be like, I can't believe I'm in the same room as Floyd Mayweather. You know what I mean? I'm like, you know what I'm trying to say? Like,
yeah, the fact that he played it up even bigger and was part of the show was even more impressive, you know, that he was maybe even close to that level.
Exactly. So, I mean, what I'm trying to say is like Floyd, he was the professor that night. He taught, you know what I mean? Floyd was the professor. Like, let's take X-Men, right? Professor Xavier and he was just teaching the young lions.
Yeah.
Floyd Mayweather was teaching Conor McGregor. Now you're in my world, and I'm gonna show you, son, how you sell a fight and how you finish a fight. And
Absolutely.
That's what he did. And that's what he did to Conor. He beat him up in the trash talking. He beat him up in the media, and then he finished him off in the fight.
Yeah, no, that's a great way to explain it. I was thinking just how you were explaining that too, like Floyd Mayweather, the way he fights, he doesn't get hit, and there's an art to defensively to, you know, have that footwork, to have that head movement, and it's almost like that's how his life is. It's like, get off me, you can't see me, I'm gonna dodge this, and that's how he lives his life. And that's basically how you're saying it's almost like a pyramid. Floyd Mayweather's at the top, everybody else is below, and it's like, come at me, come get me. And
yeah, 100%. And the thing is, I'm a big boxing fan. Like, I wish if I can go backtrack, if I got introduced to, if my way of my path took me to boxing, I would have probably done boxing. But because I kind of, the way my life led me through, like, you know, taekwondo, then I did karate, then kickboxing, then I got introduced to mixed martial arts. I feel like the way my life was destined was to become a mixed martial artist. You know what I mean? But the boxing structure is much better. You know, MMA, like, that's one thing the MMA has to evolve, is they have to respect defense. They don't respect enough defensive fighters. And I'm for one, as much as they call me the bull, and I have this, you know, I do have this offensive, but I'm very calculated. And if you look at my fights, you know, most of them are under like 3 of my fights actually. I got, like, judges gave it to my opponent, where if you look at the numbers, I should have won the fight. And MMA, they don't respect defensive. They don't respect defense. And if you look at my last fight in Brazil, it looks like the guy is hitting me because the naked eye cannot see it. But if you put it on slow-mo, I was rolling with most of the punches. I slipped majority of his shots. And yes, of course, I received some shots. It's normal, you're going to receive. But
yeah,
I also took the shots. Like, I took his shin bone straight to my jaw. I took it. I ate it like a champ. He hurt me in the fight. Like, this guy is a tough.
Trinaldo, yeah.
Ronaldo is a fucking tough kid. He was strong. I never felt that in a fight. Like, he gave me a punch, no joke. Okay, I never felt it. I've been fighting since 6 years old. He threw a shot, and all I heard was like, ding! Like, I was like, what? Like, you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah,
He got me
yeah.
2 kicks. He got me 2 kicks to the liver, right? So I started to, first round for me is like testing the waters. I'm feeling him out. He throws a kick. It goes under my arm, straight to hits me right into the liver. I'm like, okay, you got me, motherfucker. You know what I mean? And then next time I started to anticipate. I started to learn his patterns. So then I did a check, right? That's how I tore my ACL. So what happened was, so you know Muay Thai, they tell you to check a kick.
Yep.
When the guy is throwing a kick, you
lift up your lip. Yep.
You raise your knee up. So I hit his kick, his shin bone hit the tip of my knee. I blocked the kick, but what happens is it tore. So once I landed and I pivoted, that was like the X factor. The moment I landed, because how you tore an ACL is your leg has to be, I don't know how to use words, but it's like, try to visualize your foot planted.
Yep.
And then you kind of doing a pivoting motion with your knee kind of locked. And that's how you tore a ligament. So I was pivoting and moving, and that's how I tore my ACL, my MCL, and my meniscus.
Yeah.
So I felt instantaneously, a lot of pain, a lot of swelling, but I kept on fighting.
What round was that in? Was that in 2?
I think it was like second round.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. But with the adrenaline, and I didn't feel the pain. Then the third one, it was a very close fight. But again, that was like a decision, right? So what I'm trying to say is, the moral of the story is that boxing, they respect defense. Floyd Mayweather is one of the best defensive fighters, and you know, in boxing, you're able to win a round. Like, think about this: you're able to win a round without throwing one punch. Think about that, because they respect defense.
Doesn't happen in MMA, right?
Yeah, of course not. No, of course not.
Yeah. So one of the things we've talked about on our podcast a bunch of times is one of 2 things: the judges and the scoring system of 10-9, and also, you know, how you score around, because there's, you know, octagon control, and when you talk about your stats with a few of your fights, especially the Trinaldo one, eluding shots too. Like you said, how is that not scored in that 10-9 round or 10-8 round? How is that not scored? If you're throwing punches back and forth and you've eluded, I don't know, 75% of them, and you land 50% of them, potentially the other guy could still win the round, right? So it's crazy.
Well, it's very simple, man. No one gives a shit. And there's when it comes to the referee, when it comes to the like, I don't even know who's making these rules, to be honest with you. Like, is there actual people sitting around the room and actually sanctioning these rules? So I'm a fighter, right? My job is to go out there and fight and perform. So I don't really, I don't know who's judging. I don't know who the fuck is making up these rules.
Yeah.
And that's why Dana White always says, never leave it up to the judges. But, I mean, at the end of the day, you're fighting a professional guy, right? The other guy knows that you're going to hurt him. He's not going to just stay there and become a punching bag.
Yeah.
So it's easy for Dana White to say, go out there and knock each other out. But when two guys are trained, it's a chess game.
Yeah, and I mean, there's 15 minutes in a regular three round fight, and like for you, like I can't speak to it because I don't have a professional fight, but sometimes it takes a round just to get control the distance and see where the distance is, where you can stay outside their range and then come back in and hit shots. Like sometimes it's a round to get the timing going down, and then you got 10 minutes left, so it's not just, you can't just finish every fight. It's almost impossible. There's going to be decisions. So you're letting it up to the judges. I mean, it's going to happen sometimes, unfortunately.
Yeah, I always thought about maybe like dropping the minutes and adding more rounds, but I'm not sure if that would work.
Five rounds times 3 minutes. Maybe that would be better.
No, actually more. I was thinking championship fights, like bring it up like boxing.
Like 12 rounds or 10 or?
Yeah, 10, 12 rounds. Lower card, 6, 8 rounds. I mean, I don't see why not. We're professional athletes, and we're making enough money to train full time.
Yeah. So just to go back, your parents, were they born in Lebanon? And then when did they move here to Canada? And did you settle in the East Coast, I guess?
Yeah. So my heritage is my background is my ethnicity is Lebanese Catholic. My parents immigrated from Lebanon. Lebanon is a very beautiful country. For what I know, I wasn't raised there. I wasn't born there. Sorry, but it's a very beautiful country. It's just unfortunate. It's a third world country. Government corrupt. A lot of pollution. Very hard to make money there. It's very hard to make a life over there. A lot of war. A lot of religion. A lot of politics. My parents immigrated to Nova Scotia, Halifax. I was born there, and then they immigrated to Montreal, and I was raised in Montreal.
Okay, and what age did you move from the East Coast to Quebec? And also, do you have any siblings at all?
Yeah, I'm the third child, 4 kids. My mother, 3 boys and 1 girl, and I was pretty much I was here since I was 5 years old, maybe 5, 6. In Montreal, so I'm not really sure what year with that, but
yeah, we don't have to go back in years. It'll make us both feel old. So yeah. you have 2 black belts, Shotokan karate. So I was hoping you'd tell a little. I pronounced it wrong, didn't I?
Yeah, that's fucking hilarious.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. Shotokan.
So I wanted you to tell me a little bit about that, but you also have a Taekwondo black belt as well.
Yeah. Black belts, like Bruce Lee says, black belts are just to keep the belts up,
Yeah.
Sorry. The black belts are just to keep the pants up.
Yeah.
It's funny because you mentioned my black belts. I made black belts such an importance in my life. I was obsessed when I was doing martial arts, right? The traditional way, like you go to the gym, they give you a uniform, you sign up, you go in a class, you line up, you bow down. You say like a prayer. You have to respect the professor, and you respect the master, and then we start doing the drilling, and then it's like a soldier, right? It's like an army. Like we start jumping jack. You know how it is, traditional, right? So I was raised in a very traditional martial arts, right? So that was like, it got me so excited. I felt like I was a part of something, and then you got my teacher good connection, right? So I started with Taekwondo, ITF, WTF. You got International Taekwondo Federation. You got the World Taekwondo Federation. I competed in both. I did at nationals and regional. I did local tournaments, and I got the gold medal I got silver in the Canadian Games in '96, and I got gold medal in the '90s. I'm not sure in Taekwondo. I did very well for myself. My first teacher closed his gym down, financial problems, and then I connected to a karate instructor. He was a world champion, Shotokan. But here's the thing, karate is very complex. You have many different karate backgrounds. You got different styles of karate. But when it comes to the competition, it's the same type of system, right? It's very point oriented. So karate in a competition, in a tournament, the way it works is it goes with points, right? And they stop you every time you touch the guy, you give him a clean hit, they stop the fight, and then they say who got the point, right? So either you win by points, by a knockout, or by like the guy just literally giving up, right?
Yeah.
So it wasn't continuous. They would stop you. So I liked it, but then I got fed up of it because it was to a point where I would throw a shot, but I want to follow up with another shot, and I want to follow up with another shot, and you can't really follow up. It was very frustrating. So I'm like, you know what, fuck this shit. I'm like, let me do continuous. So I told my teacher, I go, put me in continuous. So then that's how I got introduced to kickboxing, right? So kickboxing, I'm like, oh, you know what? I got attracted to kickboxing. It was like, I'm hyperactive, right? So it's 2 minutes nonstop. So all I cared about was 2 minutes nonstop. I press on the gas and I just fucking go. And I go through my opponent. I threw kicks, I threw punches, and for me, that made more sense to me, more logic versus like, just 1 point stop.
Yeah.
And that's when I kind of got introduced to kickboxing. So now that teacher, he couldn't teach me no longer. So he told me, no, John, it's time for you to find another, go to another gym. He literally, like, I felt so sad. I remember I was like 17 years old, and he's like, he sat me down, and I was like, I'm like, yeah, his name is Walter, and he's a phenomenal guy, by the way. And if Walter listens, Walter Barrick, he's a great guy. He taught me a lot.
What's his last name? Walter
Barrick. Yeah, he was my karate instructor, and I got my black belt under him. We traveled like he would spend hours with me, like I would go to school, go to work, and like from 8 o'clock, no joke, from Monday to Friday, I would spend my evenings at his gym, just me and him. Sometimes like I needed bodies to practice my technique. And most guys at that time, at that time when you're 16 years old, you're going to high school, right? So 8 o'clock, around 8 o'clock, midnight, most people during school, they're studying, they're going to school the next day, and they get ready for bed. And I was in the gym. I used to hate going to school. I just wanted to be in the gym. So I used to get like my buddies will come. It was very cool. I would get my buddy like, hey, come. You pull a sweat. You learn how to fight. But at the same time, I needed bodies. So at one point there was no more sparring partners. So I had to move to another gym.
Okay.
Then I found a kickboxing guy. This guy was a Quebecois French kickboxer. He taught me how to condition my body. So I went from like very technical to like how to condition the body. How to turn the body into a machine. Never gas out, like a lot of cardio, a lot of endurance, a lot of skipping rope, a lot of hitting the bag, a lot of shadow boxing, a lot of calisthenics, a lot of road work. And then he coached me how to add nutrition. So now I amplified my performance. Now I'm adding nutritional, I'm adding the mental, and now I'm conditioning the body with techniques, right? So now I'm reaching another level. He brought me to another level. And then once I wanted to pursue kickboxing, I was a big fan of one of your questions. I remember why
K1.
This is where I'm leading to the story. This is why I was a big fan of K1, because in North America, as you know, back in the 70s and 80s, it was above the waist. It was very traditional, PKF kickboxing style, right? It was like John Vittorio, the Iceman. Back in that day, it was like that was very popular, but you can't make a living. At the highest level, they're making $2,000. You can't really take care of your family at $2,000 every 3-4 months. You know what I'm trying to say?
No, not at all.
So you can't really make money from that. So then I'm like, where can I make money? And then one guy is like, John, go watch this MMA stuff. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, what is MMA? So I was on my buddy's house. I'll never forget this day. I was at my buddy's house. He puts on the television, and it was Pride in Japan. It was like, just you see the fighters, like Japanese, like the Japanese culture when it comes to martial arts. It's a very beautiful thing. And I had to experience it for myself. So I was very fortunate. I had an opportunity to go to Singapore and to be at the attendance of one championship. Right now, one championship is dominating the market in the Asia. Like
yeah, and they actually sorry to interrupt. They actually announced they're having a card at the end of the month. Just to add, which is awesome.
Yeah. So one championship, great production. They it's crazy. Fireworks, like the music, everything, like the way the production, the marketing, the team, the way they set up the fighting is crazy. You know, it's very good on that side.
The fans are incredible too. Like so patriotic for it.
Yeah. So it was a good experience for me. So I got attracted to Pride. Then that's when I got introduced to TriStar Gym, and that's how I started my amateur career. I was undefeated in amateur. I got connected to a manager. I got connected to him. I told him book me fights, and then I started to win my fights, and he helped me build my career. And then that's when I got signed with the UFC. So it's crazy how life sometimes just things just lead their own way.
Become full circle for you, right? And like you said, there's a journey for everybody, and right now yours is where it is based on your experiences from all the coaches that you had and the different disciplines that you've added to your repertoire.
Right.
I just wanted to ask a little bit about I guess you've had a successful career all the way up until right now. It's unfortunate that with the last fight that you did sustain that injury. I'm hoping, you heal up quick and stuff, but I was just not worried about, I was just wondering about your favorite win of your career. What the win you were most proud of?
Is that better?
Yeah.
Yeah. I apologize. It's getting dark. I'm like, holy shit. It's getting
no
dark.
worries.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to cut you off on that. This is very important for all the listeners. Okay.
Okay.
Very important for all the listeners. Where as a fighter, it's always good to have a clean record. Every professional fighting is all about, I want to be 20 and 0, I want to be 50 and 0, I want to make the most money. But I was one of those guys. I was a victim to that. I had this thing in my head where I was going to be a champion and I was going to be undefeated. My amateur career, I was undefeated. My professional career, I have 7 losses and I did not become a champion. But, and you know what? It's easy to feel sorry for myself, like a victim, but I don't want to victimize. I don't want to be the victim, and I'm very happy because like the judges saw it a different way, but deep down inside, I know I won the fight. Deep down inside, the other guy, Ronaldo, knew I won the fight, because when a fighter to a fighter, okay, we look to each other in the eyes. And Ronaldo, when I looked at him in the eye after the fight, his eyes were defeat. His body language showed defeat because he knew that I took his best shots. And he couldn't land. If you look at his record, okay, let's take him as a fighter. Ronaldo, look at his record. All of his fights prior to me, he was knocking out everybody. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, except for I remember Jesse Ronson, I think a split decision, but most guys he knocked out.
Correct. Yeah, Jesse Ronson. Yeah, I didn't see that fight, but yeah, I had no idea he fought Jesse. So yeah, exactly. Tough opponent, right? So and that's what. So my goal was not to get knocked out, and that for me is a victory.
Yeah. He's knocked out a ton of people. Like you said, we were talking earlier. The shots that he gave you, you felt them, and some of the harder shots you've had in your career, but it didn't knock you out. And the victor was you for, battling through that and battling through the injury you sustained in the second round. So
exactly. Correct.
I watched that fight live, and I think I watched it once after, but I'm going to watch it a third time just because we talked about that. Just to get another look at it.
Yeah. All right, man.
Yeah. So getting towards the end here, training and recovery time for you. What are we looking at, and when do you think hopefully you'll get back into the octagon?
Yeah, right now I'm taking day by day. I don't want to look too ahead of my future because future. So this is another thing, right? If you're too much, if you get stuck too much in the future, that's anxiety. If you're too much in the past, you become depressed, right? So I live in the present. I'm taking it day by day. I don't know what's gonna happen between now and 4 months.
Yeah.
But right now, what I can say to you is, with an ACL, meniscus, and MCL torn, I'm back to walking. I'm back to moving. My leg is almost like at 6 weeks mark. Right? Think about this. An ACL surgery. If you're familiar with this type of surgery, it's a very complex surgery, and the recovery time from a doctor's perspective is always going to say 9 months.
Yeah.
Just to recover from an ACL. But from a fighter's perspective, I'm saying 4 months. I'm going to get back into training camp within the 5th month. And I'm looking before the next year, I'm going to fight again.
We can't look any forward to that. The guys on our podcast, all 5 of us, big fans. And first thing is health. So make sure, obviously you're going to do that. You're very intelligent. So you'll make sure you're healthy and ready to go, but we can't wait until you get back in there. All right. Last part here. We do a between round segment. So 1 minute, going to ask you a question. You just have to pick one thing or the other. We ready to go for that?
Let's do it, bro.
All right. Are you a steak or seafood fan?
Steak.
How do you like your steak cooked?
Medium rare.
What's better, kickboxing, Muay Thai, or any other discipline?
All the above.
All the above. Rock music, country music, or other?
Rock music.
Halifax, Montreal, or other?
What do you mean by other? Like that means you're excluding them? Because I like all of them.
Yeah, it's either you gotta pick.
I like Canada. How about I like Canada?
I love it, Canada. Training or fighting?
Yeah, training.
I like that. Rear naked choke or armbar?
Rear naked choke.
Music or sports?
Both.
Movies or TV shows?
Movies.
Favorite movie of all time?
Gladiator.
Are you a beach or a fishing type of guy?
Beach.
Grappling or striking?
Are you serious? You know what you're talking. What kind of question is that?
Hey, just wanted to hear it. I wanted to hear it. I wanted to hear striking right away. Boom.
Do you ever see the status of, do you ever see like UFC, the biography of me? They have me as 100% striker.
Yeah, no, I know.
And I love that. I take pride because usually everybody in the UFC is either like 50% wrestling, 20% like, you know what I mean? They have different like ratios.
Yeah.
Because it's mixed martial arts. But me, it's 100% striker.
Maybe I was just trying to throw you off.
No, I fucking love it. I'm a fucking straight, I'm a straight shooter for life.
All right. Knockout or submission? Is that a dumb question too?
No, it's not. No, it's not a dumb question. Knockout or submission? Knockout.
Who wins in a rematch, Makdessi or Trinaldo, even though you won the first?
Yeah, John Makdessi.
Who's the most talented lightweight in the UFC, Makdessi or other?
My ego is gonna say John Makdessi, but obviously I'm not the most talented. Let's just say 155 division is one of the toughest, the most talented division.
I agree. And any shout outs or any gym sponsors or any of that you wanted to give? Yeah.
Well, first I want to give you a shout out to yourself. Thank yourself, brother, and I appreciate the time. I want to give a big shout out to MMA Lab, Arizona, Phoenix. Been great to me. It's a beautiful country. Beautiful state. If you guys ever want to visit Arizona, it's a beautiful state. Good, nice people, very positive, and the energy is good over there. So I was a big shout out to all the guys from the MMA Lab. I miss them very much. Being at home, not being in my element is kind of very tough. But I'm very lucky to be surrounded by good people. I like Ben Henderson. Ben Henderson is a good mentor, and it makes a lot of sense why he was a champion. So I shout out to Ben Henderson. He came to my corner. He was there. He helped me get ready for my fight. Rob Emerson, another high-level fighter, and he's a coach. Shout out to Rob Emerson. Mitch Mayberger, Mitch Mayberger, he's a longtime friend of mine, and he helps me with the management part. Of course, I want to, the UFC. The UFC has been very, the UFC has a lot of bad rep. It's very easy to criticize the UFC. It's very easy to criticize Dana White, but I respect them as a business. People, there's always two sides to the story. You know what I mean? It's very easy to look at one side of the spectrum. But UFC has been very loyal to me. They gave me a lot of opportunities. They never abandoned me. So I respect. I'm very loyal to the UFC brand, and I appreciate the UFC.
Before I finish with an important statement that I wanted to say to you before the end, I just wondered if there was somebody out there in the UFC that you would want to fight when you are recovered. I have to ask that question.
No, of course not. 100%. Well, I want to fight. I want to fight the guy who's a champion. If I want to become the champion, I need to beat the champion. And I felt that like right now, Bobby Green called me up. Bobby Green is a high level guy. I would love to fight Bobby Green. He looks like a type of guy where he's gonna try to, he's a heavy hitter. He swings. Gaethje is another guy, and these are all tough guys. Like I can easily lose these fights. But I don't give a fuck. I'm a fighter. That's what fighters do. Firemen go into the fire. Police officers go into the crime, and fighters, gladiators go into the arena. Win, lose, or draw. I think it's a good opportunity for me to maybe get my stocks higher. I think they're gonna bring out the best out of me. Those are two tough opponents. Like, they're gonna come out there, very calculated strikers. I always think at the end of the day, striker versus striker is always gonna give a good performance.
I agree. Sign us up for both of those fights. I did want to finish with just how thoughtful and nice you are of a guy to first of all answer me, second of all want to come on, and third of all, and most importantly, before we even started recording this, asking a little bit about me and my life, and just being curious just shows what type of human you are. Big heart, and we really appreciate you coming on. Great chatting with you. Healthy recovery. Hope you get back and we can see one of those two fights. And we really appreciate your time. That's thank you very much, John the Bull Makdessi. This is Hooks in MMA. Thank you, John.
Thank you, brother.
All right, next up on the Hooks in MMA podcast, we have local legend, also international legend, Jeff the Inferno Joslin. How are we doing today, Jeff?
I'm good, Matt. How are you?
Good, thanks. Long day of work, but was looking forward to getting home and talking to you. How did your day go? What did you get up to today?
Every day feels the same lately. It's every day feels like a kind of a Saturday. I'm not even sure what's going on in terms of day to day. I have some certain things I do. Today I did kids classes. I had 3 kids classes on Zoom in a row. That was a lot of fun. And before that, just working on some new things for the business. We had working on an online store and a bunch of other stuff. So it's been busy the last couple of days. Really put things together.
Yeah,
it's hard to remember which day it is though of the week.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say, still finding a way to keep busy with regards to the last 4 months that we've been dealing with here.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a good thing to go ahead and do. First question, just you have a 5-3 overall record. When I was younger, I followed you with your career, and just wondering why you came up with, or who gave you the name Inferno for your MMA nickname.
I started out without a nickname. I didn't really have any interest in having one, and I just fight after fight started to build my way up. We started fighting in TKO, and one day I was fighting. I think it was my second fight in TKO, or maybe my third. And the announcer announced me as the Phenom, and I'm like, what? I didn't say I'm calling myself the Phenom, And I guess the promoter, Stefan, told him to say that about me, and I was just like, okay, I better maybe control my nickname here,
Yeah,
it was cool. It was definitely a compliment, but a bunch of us got together with nothing really. I don't think it's a great story, but it's just the Inferno kind of comes from when I'm in the cage. If it's like a big fire, right? If it's a big fire, you want to be from far away. You can't stop watching. It's just exciting. You're just it's kind of, as long as nobody's getting hurt. It's just like, wow, mesmerizing, right? And then when you're close to it, it's a nightmare. So that was the thing, if you're fighting against the Inferno, it's going to be a rough day for you. And if you're far away, hopefully people enjoy watching my fights.
Love it. Love it. So Joslin's Mixed Martial Arts, that's the name of your gym. And I know your dad, well, I don't know your dad, but, pretty big legend in his own right. Just wondering how the Joslin's gym from your dad down to you came about and just where it is today, how it came so far.
So my dad started this martial arts school before I was born. I was born in 1975. He started in 1967. He took up martial arts. He was an active, from what I hear. He doesn't tell me a lot. He's a pretty private guy, but I hear stories from different people and a little bit from him too as well. But, he was a pretty adventurous guy, and he fell in love with martial arts at age 18. And he has one of the most addictive personalities that I've ever met. And he's passed a lot of that on to me too. So with his personality, when he makes his mind up to do something, he does it. And he got his black belt in a record 18 months when he started training. So he was really into the fighting aspects. And then he wanted to open a school. Originally, from my knowledge, he opened it with 5 other people. And then he had the drive to always be there, always to be working. And he ended up buying all the other guys out and then continued the name on. And I think when I was 5 years old, 1980, we moved to the building. So at first he rented the building on Concession Street. And then we moved on top of it and then actually lived on top of the gym growing up. So
wow.
that was really, it was really, really cool.
Oh, wow. Just to touch on what you said there, you said your dad got a black belt in 18 months. Typically for an average person, how long does it take?
Yeah, I don't know about back then. I'm not sure, but maybe 6 years,
Yep.
I think, I would guess.
Yeah. So that's a fast track for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So what discipline did you start training in? Why? And then how did it evolve into being more of a mixed martial artist?
So it's a long, winding road, a lot of time, but I had the time. I had the benefit of growing up in a martial arts family, and my father put me into karate and kickboxing. My dad was karate black belt at first, but he was the first generation of guys that went from karate, kind of point sparring type stuff, into full contact karate. He had an undefeated team back in the, I believe the 70s. Some of the fighters went on to do very well in pro boxing. They beat some very, very tough kickboxers. So he always had the element of, the way I saw karate was always heavy bags and kickboxing rings. And it was a very, very tough, not to say that the very traditional karate is not tough, but just the way that I saw it was always the grind of the heavy bags, the conditioning. He was huge on conditioning. So he put me in to train when I was really young. So I remember some of my oldest pictures, I had a little gi on that I think my grandma made for me. But I started when I was about 4 or 5 years old. And I trained until I was about 10. And I remember always wanting to play hockey, and all my friends were playing hockey. I said, Dad, can I play hockey? Can I play hockey? Because I think when your dad puts you in a sport, you kind of do it for them. And for me, I just wanted to try other things, and all my buddies were playing hockey. So at 10 years old, he let me take a little break from hockey. And then when I got I grew up, nobody really picked a fight on me. I didn't have any bullies because I think everybody was afraid of my dad. My dad is a very intense guy, very tough. My friends are still scared of him at our age now.
Yeah.
So I never had anybody pick on me until high school. An older guy started to bother me and started to pick on me. And then I ended up fighting him in the cafeteria. And I started training a month before that because I knew I had to fight this guy.
Yeah.
So we threw down in the cafeteria, and then after that, I never missed a class. I was so inspired to try to become like my dad and try to increase my skills and to never feel nervous about being in a real fight again.
Yeah. What did you go to school in here in Hamilton?
I did. I went to Sacred Heart, which was my father's school when he was a kid.
Okay.
And then I went to St. John in Brebeuf for many years.
Brebeuf. Okay.
So if anybody would go into Brebeuf, I fought in the middle of the cafeteria right when you go in the main doors. It was like the first benches there. Yeah, we threw down there, and that moment changed my life.
Yeah, because I was teaching at Glendale as well. I think you had come down there a couple times to help out with some gym classes. So
I did, yeah.
I was asking just what school you went to, just out of curiosity, but I didn't know if you're in the public or Catholic board. But so just during the pandemic, it's been tough for anyone, very tough for gym owners. I know that for, a lot of small businesses. I follow you on Facebook and Instagram and stuff like that. So I knew that you were running some virtual classes. So I guess just, how is that experience as opposed to in person? It's obviously not the same, but were you able to adjust to it and make it work, or was it a little bit difficult?
Well, I was a little resistant at first to try it. I just wanted to, 2 days after we closed down, we closed down, I think, on the 15th of March. I started putting out free workouts on my YouTube channel. So the Joslin's MMA YouTube channel, I put out 35 by now. Now I have 35 free workouts. So I knew so many people were not able to get to their martial arts gym or their fitness gym. So I put out a bunch of stuff for them, and also to keep myself sane so I could work out and I can train. And then I kind of waited on the kids stuff because I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to do it online. So when I tried it, I was like, wow, it's actually pretty good. I could keep them listening and focused, and they could learn a lot, and they had great, they seemed to be having a lot of fun. So obviously there's actually some benefits to the online training. I can really see, it's a really good perspective for me to see everybody directly. But obviously you don't have that kind of close knit where you're, adjusting their arm or telling them. You don't have the environment of the gym and the smell and the feel and all the, what the gym brings.
Yeah. But it was still good that you did that. I'm sure a lot of your students appreciated that. It's, a different way and a different time right now, but I think you made it work. Still making it work, I guess, right?
Yes. So we're maintaining that. And obviously with the future being uncertain how fast things are going to come back to regular, the future might be a combination of regular classes with a little bit of online content. As long as everything keeps progressing forward, again, we're getting back to the more a regular class type thing. But I think as an instructor, just as a martial artist or a fighter, you have to be able to ready to change plans on the fly and adjust and be tough and work hard and never give up, and just, like any business owner, I think you take it as a challenge. And honestly, everything that seemed like a bad moment in my life always turned out to be a blessing, and always turned out to be one of the most important moments in my life. So I have no doubt that this will be any different.
Yeah, it's good perspective. And also the way you're talking as an instructor, I think that's kind of how, I'm not a fighter, but in a fighter, you have to change on the fly, maybe a game plan as well, right? If things aren't going to plan, or you studied somebody a certain way and it's not really going how you saw, maybe they change something in their style, in their training camp. It's always like evolving and adjusting throughout.
No, you're exactly right, for sure.
So John Fitch and Josh Koscheck, obviously, two of the bigger fights of your career. I guess just, they were great fights. Just take me through, like, I guess how they got set up. Like, what was that call like coming into you or your manager? What was the training like for those two guys?
So I'm just trying to remember the order of my fights here.
Yeah.
So I was fighting in back then, it was the only shows you could fight. One of the main shows was TKO and UCC in Quebec. And it was great. They treated me very well. But you end up always being the outside guy, fighting the hometown guys, fighting this and that. And I had just come off what I thought was a very poor decision, in a fight. I won't mention any names in the fight, but I felt I beat the guy, and the judges gave it to him. So I said to myself, I'm never going to go back to Quebec to fight. So we took a little break. And then we had kind of some promises with this fight. This was also in the fight in Quebec against John Fitch. So it was that was in Gatineau, actually. So it was in Gatineau in Quebec. And, we kind of had some reassurances that things would be put in place, that the referees would do a good job and all that. But you're always at the mercy of, the commission and randomness that way. So I signed up to fight, not John Fitch at first. I signed up to fight Jeremy Jackson. Now, Jeremy Jackson was a guy that was on the Ultimate Fighter show. He was in the UFC and stuff like that. So it was a good opportunity for me to, take the next step. He pulled out of the fight. I'm not sure why. I think he might have had an injury or something like that. And then they replaced me with Mike Guyman. So Mike Guyman was an owner of Tap Out, I believe, one of the owners of Tap Out at the time. And he was an up-and-coming MMA fighter. And he pulled out all of a sudden. And when he pulled out, I was in Oregon training at Team Quest. Randy Couture, Chris Lieben was there, Mike Dolce, Nate Quarry.
Yep.
There's so many good guys. I went out there for a week because I wanted to roll and train with all the guys that you see on The Ultimate Fighter and some of the guys like that. So I was having a great week or two out there training. And then I got the call about 2 weeks before the fight, and they said, okay, Mike Guyman pulled out. And then they said, we got a guy named John Fitch. I'm like, it doesn't matter to me. Like, I never heard of John, and he had never heard of me. And I said, yeah, whatever. I'm in shape. When you're in shape, it's an amazing feeling because you have that belief in yourself and you feel you could fight any person on the planet. And if I want to make it to the UFC, I don't want to mess around by beating easy guys for 15, 20 fights. And then I pad my record up, and then hopefully they choose me. I want them to choose me because I'm an exciting fighter. You know, you want to be a dangerous fighter. You want to go for the finish. You want to score some knockouts. You want to show some striking in addition to your grappling. So that was always my goal, to be a complete martial artist, hoping that they would excite the crowd, which would excite the promotions to bring you in. So I think you can do a lot with the right fights and less fights than you can do sometimes with 40 fights and maybe not be, you know, the most exciting fighter.
Exactly. So could I put you on par with kind of what you're saying these days with, you know, COVID and uncertainty, and if a coach tests positive or if a fighter tests positive, you would be one of those late notice fight guys that they could call up and you'd be game for anything, right? Because you've been training and there's, you know, there's no like stoppage in that fire for you.
Yeah. I wouldn't go if I was out of shape. I would never take it out of shape. I went into one fight with a torn back muscle and I didn't train properly and I got so tired. I won't say it. You might be able to watch one of my fights and see it, but I was so tired. It wasn't Koscheck. It wasn't Fitch. But I was so gassed, but I was still winning the fight. I was just like, oh, I'm so tired. Right? And so I would never go in prepared. But I think, if I was a year-round martial artist. Some guys do camps. Okay, I got a fight coming up and do a 3-month camp. No. If you want to get good, you got to train martial arts every single day, 2 or 3 times a day, all year round, never taking a break, because it takes 5 lifetimes to get the skills and develop what you need to do to become a very, very exciting and high-level fighters in wrestling, jiu-jitsu, boxing, Muay Thai, all of it kind of put together, in my opinion. So we got no time to waste, you know?
No, exactly. The couple of the best guys you've trained or coached in your career, who would they be?
For me, I have, you know, a lot of many different guys over the years that worked very hard. You know, it's very, you know, a lot of people talk the talk. They want to get here. They're asking, usually when they ask, oh, when can I make the UFC? When can I make this? It's like, okay, you know, if you're asking that question, you probably, I don't tell him this, but in my head, I'm like, he doesn't have it, you know? He's more about the glory, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. He doesn't want to do the work. And really the fun part's the journey. Even getting to the UFC, it's fun. It feels good, but it's not like automatic happiness. Your life is just easy now.
You actually got to ramp it up even more, right?
Right. And it's the journey. You know, it's the fun part. It's the sharing with friends, cheering each other on. It's the Hamilton people high-fiving each other. You know, it's the support that I love so much. You know, the goal is good, but it's the chase, you know?
Yeah, that 5-round or 3-round or 5-round fight you did overseas or across Canada, a battle that you had with someone that maybe wasn't as popular. It's, you know.
Really, exactly. It's about building those memories with your friends, your family, and the people that care about you. But to get back on track, I had, you know, Ryan Dixon was one of my hardest working fighters. One of the guys
just going to mention his name.
Yeah, he reminded me a lot of myself in terms of how much he wanted to show up. You know, I didn't have to call him, hey, Ryan, you come and train. Boom, he's there. I do a workshop. Boom, he's there. Oh, he's there. He's there. This is what you need, you know?
Yeah.
Like I said, we don't have time to mess around. So he did very, very well. I think he had 10 wins, all by finish. So he submitted or knocked out every single person he fought.
Yeah, he was 10-5. And I remember I saw one of his fights. Unfortunately, he lost. I was watching Josh fight in Burlington. It was at an ice rink.
I was away for that one. Yeah, unfortunately, I couldn't make it.
I think that was, if I'm not mistaken, against Jason Witt. I think.
Yes. Yeah.
Pretty sure.
That's true.
But he had a lot of talent.
Yeah, it's a tricky sport, right? You get to that age where you start to develop, you know, you develop that skill and you're at an age, but you're not making much money. The sport, you know, people think that fighters are rich, but it's, you know, it's a love, it's a passion. And then you're giving up that schooling, or you're giving up that effort you could put to business to chase a dream for fighting. So it's a very delicate situation and you really have to, you know, choose wisely. But it's a fun life. It's a fun path. And like I said, you know, you only live once. So if you don't enjoy what you're doing, you know, you're doing the wrong thing. So for me, it was always like every day felt like it went by in a flash because I was having fun doing what I like to do, you know?
And that's what it should be, right? When it becomes too much of a hassle, it's like, why am I doing this? Or questioning, you know, should I be doing something else? Or
martial arts is way too hard work if you're not loving it.
Yeah, no kidding. Who's next? Oh yeah, just anybody at your gym currently. I know obviously the pandemic stuff stopped a little bit. Just, you know, somebody with maybe not a lot of fights or maybe none at all professionally, maybe a couple of amateur guys, just a few names maybe, or 1 or 2 names that, you know, you see a lot of talent in that could be somebody in a few years.
Yeah, I have have a lot of guys that are up and coming, and some guys that are national champions for kickboxing and K1 division as well. Um, I have a young guy named Amro Falestini, and he's I think maybe 19 or 20 and 2 or 20 and 1. He's doing very, very well, and that's in multi-disciplines. So he's won a lot of Muay Thai titles, K1 stuff, MMA stuff as well, amateur. And he was just about to go pro actually, and then this kind of all hit. So he's a natural fighter. He's one of those guys where I just have to grab him and I just have to point him towards the guy and just kind of push him in, and he'll figure it out. So
Yeah.
he's a very scrappy guy. And everybody has different things like that. Some fighters you have to kind of like, you come from a more like, you have to really kind of guide them, and they might have so much technique, but maybe they're missing this or that. Some guys can just fight just automatically under pressure. Some guys get better when it's the competition. Some guys get a little slower in the competition. So there's a lot of factors, and each athlete has a different thing. And I think they can all be effective. They just have to learn how to tweak their game and be effective. Getting a little bit off track, but just my perspective on the new guys coming up. Now, you can't, as a coach, it's very important that you don't train them all the same. They're not all going to fight like me, right?
No.
Like, and I'm not talking in terms of level. I'm just talking in terms of, just the way that I fought, just the style that I fought.
Stylistically and methodically.
Yeah, some guys, might like to want to grapple more, strike more. And as a coach, you can't just make them try to make a copy of you. You gotta mold them in the way that they're going to be, best for them.
I think GSP said the other day, like, fighters are made up of 3 different things. Fighting, like they're a fighter, they're an athlete, or they're kind of a combination of each, and everyone has different percentages of each in them out of the 100%. So I guess to your point, coaching them, it's like, which part are they and where am I going to focus on more, and which part do I need to build up a little more as well, right?
Yeah, very true. That makes a lot of sense.
So I watched your TED Talks, I don't know, a couple months ago, maybe, the one Ambitions versus Sacrifices. And, that 20 minutes really, sat with me really well. I was very impressed by just your speak. I know you're a coach and you own a gym and stuff, and you're probably talking to 30 students at a time or whatever it may be. Just very impressed by the overall, speech, where it came from the heart, the struggles you went through. And I think everybody, goes through struggles a lot through life. Everybody's battling something at some point. So I guess just speak to that, why you either got called or decided to do that, and, how you felt after just, giving that speech to a lot of people that maybe took that home to their heart.
So that's a funny story. So one of my friends he was in Ottawa, one of my students, and he emailed me, said, Jeff, there's a TED Talk coming up in Hamilton, and it's about ambition, and I think your story would be good for it. And I'm like, saw the email and I ignored it. I'm like, come on, I'm not going to do a TED Talk. Like, I started to feel nervous, right? And then he emailed me again, and then again, and then again. I was like, okay. And then he Facebook messaged me, and I'm like, I probably should answer this. And I thought to myself, I said, this is making me afraid, So I probably should do it, because this is where I grow the most. We have such a tendency to take the easy path, martial arts as well, try to avoid the toughest guys but where you do the growth is where you're uncomfortable.
Do things you don't want to do. Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
Exactly. So I'm like, okay, I'm signing up for it. And I didn't know, how many people are going to try out for it, but you had to send a tape. So I just said a little short clip, a little tape, a little recording. And I think there was like 300 or something applicants, and they chose me out of the like 10 people to do it. I was pretty lucky, And then they put me with a coach, and I believe a lot in fate. And my coach, Emmanuel, you have to give him a shout out. He was fantastic, and he was a martial artist. So he was
even better.
Yeah, speech coach. And then he was like, "We're gonna kill this, brother," And we practiced like a fight. It was like a fight camp. I practiced every single day. So it wasn't just like you said. Thank you for the compliment, but it didn't come just naturally. And I learned so much about speaking and just the breathing and the pace and all that type of stuff. And it was such a great skill to learn. And I didn't realize how much was involved. And I was just happy to get out there and do well. Do what I wanted to do in the speech, because I actually forgot parts, and then it kind of swung back in. You couldn't tell though. It was really weird. Just the training. It's like fighting. You make a mistake and your autopilot kicks in, and I brought it back in, and yeah, it was really emotional for me. But it was an honor to share the story, and hopefully it helps other people know that you got to be careful not to sacrifice too much, because you can lose the things that you care about the most.
Absolutely. And I thought it was awesome. Anybody who's watching this, just go to YouTube and it's, TED Talks, Jeff Joslin, Ambitions versus Sacrifices. It was fantastic. Just to finish off, we have a between round segment. So it's 1 minute. I'm going to give you two things. You have to pick one. And it's kind of, let's go. We're firing off. Are we ready to go here?
Sure.
All right. Steak or seafood?
Steak.
Yes. How do you like the steak cooked?
Medium well.
Fighting or owning your own gym?
Owning my own gym.
Rock music, country music, or other?
Other.
What would the other be?
Hip hop.
Hamilton, Stony Creek, or Toronto?
Hamilton, even though I live in Stony Creek, but
Hammertown. Training or coaching?
You're making it tough on me, brother.
Sorry.
Training or coaching? I don't know, man. I'm gonna have to plead the fifth on that one.
Rear naked choke or armbar?
Armbar.
Music or sports?
Sports.
Movies or TV shows?
Movies.
Beach or fishing?
Fishing.
Grappling or striking?
That's a tough one, buddy. You're gonna have to plead the fifth on that. I love them both.
Knockout or submission?
Knockout, baby.
Who wins in a rematch, Joslin or Fitch?
Watch the first one. You'll see.
Yeah, exactly. Joslin or Koscheck?
I've got to go with Joslin. I like that guy.
Absolutely. I do too. Who wins in their prime and now, GSP or Anderson Silva?
Sorry, prime and now?
Yeah.
Probably GSP now for sure, and prime would have been an exciting fight to see. I would have loved to see that one for sure.
GSP or Khabib?
I go, that is tough. That's tough. That's a beautiful fight. Got to go GSP. GSP is very smart. He's very smart, figures out a way. He'll adjust on the fly. Yeah, he just seems to figure things out. Very, very good.
Last one. Best gym in the world, Joslin's or any other?
Joslin's!
Yeah. Absolutely. Lastly, shout outs or anybody from your gym you wanted just to give
just a shout out to all the people in Hamilton's for all the support over the years. My father for letting me live this lifestyle and building up the school to the point where I just had to do this for my whole life. Only job I've had. Shout out to all my students for the love and the caring that they're showing us all the time, but especially in this time as well. And all my friends and family, my wife, for supporting any lady that's married to a fighter is, you have my respect. It's not easy. And shout out to, everybody who supported me over the years. It means a lot. And thank you for having me on the show today.
No, we thank you. Anybody either haven't been there or planning on going there, Joslin's Gym on Concession Street in Hamilton, best around, worldwide. And we really appreciate you taking the time to come with us. This is Hooks in MMA, and that's Jeff, the Inferno Joslin. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. We'll continue to work hard and do our best, my friend.
Thanks again.
Awesome. Those are great interviews. Two amazing guests. Thank you guys for joining the Hooks in MMA podcast. Now we're getting into our final segment of the show, Easy Lines, getting ahead of that buck. We got Fight Island, UFC 251 coming up this Saturday night. Starting things off here is Ben Zeman.
Yeah, thanks, Kron. So, getting us started off this Saturday, UFC 251 main event. We have Masvidal at plus 185, Usman at minus 220. This is, kind of on the surface level, a classic striker versus grappler matchup, but both fighters really seem to have rounded out their games very well over the past few years. Jorge is extremely experienced with a record of 35 wins, 13 losses. Fought his way from the streets of Miami literally to the highest point you can be in the professional world of fighting. So he has a lot of experience. 3 straight wins by finish over Darren Till, Askren, Nate Diaz, including a record-breaking 5-second KO of Askren. Very adept fighter, but definitely has the wrestling and jiu-jitsu skills to back it up, right? Even in that Damian Maia fight, Maia said after his jiu-jitsu was some of the best he ever faced. So Kamaru Usman brings a record of 16-1 into the octagon on Saturday. Never lost a UFC fight, 10 straight wins. Has wins over Covington, Woodley, and RDA. So, Jorge, looking into this, as I said before, going to come in there mentally strong, certainly physically ready. He's been training, I believe, with Poirier and, getting ready for this fight. I'm going Usman to win this fight, but would not be surprised if Street Jesus brings us a baptism either. Who knows what's going to happen, but what do you boys think is going to happen in this fight?
Yeah, so I'm looking at the rounds, and I know that's your expertise, but just a couple quick stats, and I'll move it on to someone else. But Usman has 1 finish in his last 5 fights. Obviously, he finished Covington, and Masvidal out of 48 fights has only been finished 3 times. So my play for this is for the fight to go to decision, and that play pays you plus 120. So it's going to go full 5 rounds. Masvidal is going to hold his own. I personally think Usman's going to edge it out. But it's really hard to finish Street Jesus, and Usman has only finished 1 in his last 5. That's my play.
Yeah, I think Usman's going to take it as well. I think he's going to pursue the finish pretty hard. I don't know if he's going to be able to get it, but I think he's going to try to turn the tide on this kind of public view right now. I know he's a little pissed about the attention that Maz is getting. So I think he's going to pursue it pretty hard, but I still see it making it to a decision, Usman.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of public money is coming down on Jorge Masvidal, yet this line's not really moving that much. I think it's because the sharps are all keeping the masses at bay, kind of, and they're all laying their money down on Usman at minus 220. Even minus 225, I think, because that's just where the sharp money's going in. Is there always that chance that Jorge does something crazy? There is with this guy, but I think my personal play on this one as well is Kamaru decision plus 175. I think that's a great play here as well. Going back to what you were saying there, Zone, in terms of this fight going the distance. Next up, we have, or is there anything else to add there, Kronz or Davidson? Anything to add there? No, I think we're good. Okay. Next up, we got Alexander Volkanovski. He's a minus 200. Max Holloway plus 170, looking pretty juicy. The rematch from their December fight in which Volkanovski beat Holloway in a very competitive striking match. Alexander was clearly better, but certainly not dominating by any means. Kind of faded in the last 4th or 5th round. Alexander was very kind to give Holloway the immediate rematch here, and has said that he really wants to beat Max by finish this time around. I personally think it's going to be a carbon copy of the past fight, unless Holloway completely changes his style. I don't think he will. He has problems when people pressure him. Volkanovski will pressure him. That's what he does. He will do the same thing in this fight. Holloway will back up, and he will have to counter-strike. That's not where he's comfortable. Volkanovski, yes, could he be fading, lose some cardio 4th or 5th round? Maybe, but I don't think he loses this fight. He most likely wins by decision. That's my play, Volkanovski decision plus 105, or you can use a money line to minus 250, but you guys tell me why I'm wrong.
I wouldn't say you're wrong, Z. Like 100% could be a replay of the first one where Volkanovski fought really well. Maybe lost 1 or 2 of the last 2 rounds, but he won the fight for sure. It could be a replay of that, but my play is actually a value play. And I know we like to say this at the end, but my pick is a value pick on Holloway. Not surprised that Holloway's the underdog, but just the value that you can get here. So Volkanovski's only finished 2 of his last 7 fights. So he's susceptible to going the distance. My play is, like I said, for the value value pick. Holloway winning, but winning by decision. That's plus 300. When we pick value picks, it's not typically anything close to, plus 100 or minus 100 or 110 or 105. This is a plus 300, so it's unlikely to happen. But I think based on how skilled Holloway is, his past, he's going to be really motivated to get back his crown, his featherweight crown. And it's really hard to knock out Volkanovski. He has one loss, and it was by finish, but that was 7 years ago. I think Holloway wins in 5 rounds, and I think it's by decision, plus 300. That's my pick.
Yeah, I agree with you, Zone. I got Holloway by decision. I think he's got to come in with a different game plan. They're not going to come in and do the exact same thing. You're right, Z, that Holloway doesn't fight great when he's being pressured, but he hadn't had to really face anybody that pressured him like that, other than Poirier, but Poirier was quite a bit bigger than him. I think Holloway comes out with a much higher pace off the bat. I think he thought in the first fight Volkanovski was going to slow down way more than he did. So I think he's going to push the pace right off the bat and potentially search for the late Nate Diaz style accumulation finish or decision.
Yeah, no, I definitely like that value. I wasn't even taking a look specifically at Holloway by decision. Plus 300 sounds pretty juicy to me. Again, me personally, I'm leaning on Volkanovski on this fight, but that sounds like a good value pick to myself as well. Going on to the next fight here, though. Next, we got Peter Yan, minus 220 versus Jose Aldo at plus 180 for the bantamweight fight. Yan is 14-1. Wins against Uriah Faber, Jimmy Rivera, John Dobson. This is Aldo's second fight at bantamweight. He just lost his last fight in a decision against Marlon Moraes, but that was a fight some people said Jose won. Again, a very competitive 3-round fight. I'm leaning on the favorites to win here with Yan, but I'm not taking too many shares in this fight personally. I'm kind of scared of Aldo at bantamweight, especially if he comes out using his leg kicks again. He kind of stopped there for a while. Some people are saying it's because of injury. Who knows? But if he comes out leg kicking, either way, I think this fight's going to be a firefight, most likely ending by a finish in the 3rd or 4th round. What do you guys see happening?
Yeah, I like the experience of Aldo here, guys. This is a big card, right? Big spotlight. I think that Yan could come in with a little bit of butterflies, a little bit of nervousness, and I think Aldo's been there, done that. So I really like the experience, and I just like the value. You get this marquee name, and you get some nice underdog value. I'm personally going to jump on him money line, hoping for an upset, but yeah, definitely good points on the Yan side. I could see this thing going either way. Seems to be more of a coin flip to me, so I'm going to jump on the underdog in this one.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Franz. I think, Yan obviously hits really hard, and he's a great pressure fighter. But, Rivera and Faber are no Aldo. Aldo's a whole another beast, and Aldo can crack himself. It's going to be a firefight. I agree with you, Ben, that it's going to be probably definitely under 4, potentially under 3 rounds. But I like the Aldo value there.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with you guys. I think it is kind of a coin flip. I do throughout the week I've kind of went back and forth on this one. When you talk about the bantamweight division, you're talking about probably, in my opinion, the second most competitive division in the UFC. I think lightweight is number 1. I think bantamweight is number 2. You got a lot of guys circled in, like they're in the same grouping. You got Bryce, you got Sterling, you got Cruz, you got Cejudo if he's not retired. You got these 2 guys fighting on the weekend. It's an unbelievable grouping, and I don't think a ton separates them. So I'm actually not even going to give a pick for this one, but if I had to lean, I would lean on Yan. I think it's his coming out party. I'm probably not going to be putting any money on this, but he reminds me a little bit of a younger Holloway, where he ended up beating Lamas. He ended up beating Aldo twice. I think he's on that level. He just hasn't had that huge fight yet. Like when you beat Uriah Faber at favors age. It's a great win. It's a great finish. He was dominant, but you can't compare that to Aldo, who's 7 years younger. So I think it's going to be a Jan coming out party. I actually think he could finish it, but it's not going to be a money play for me. Just excited to watch the fight.
Yeah, get your popcorn ready.
Okay, moving on to the next one as well here on the main card. We got Rose Namajunas. She's a minus 225, another fairly heavy favorite going against Andrade at plus 187. This was a rematch of their the numbered second fight, basically, right, where Andrade had, I believe it was it was a slam, certainly. I believe it was in the second round in which she TKO'd Rose. This time around, the bettors or the odds makers are still giving Rose a lot of respect, and I'm going to as well. I'm leaning on Rose to win this fight, most likely by decision. I'm looking at decision plus 180, plus 185. What about you guys? What are you guys looking at here?
I'm also picking Rose. She's come out. She said that the last fight she wasn't focused like she should be. I know they've taken a different approach to preparing for this fight with their fiance Barry. I think she was winning the last fight. She just got caught in a weird position and got slammed on her head. I think that she's going to keep her distance this time, and I think she's going to win by outstriking her. I don't know by finish, but I definitely think Rose is going to take it.
Yeah, and last time, like DC was saying, she was holding on to that Kimura, and she didn't really know what she's doing. But at the 115-pound weight class, who is picking somebody over their head and dropping them on their head?
She's a beast.
Nobody's doing that. You're not going to train for that.
No.
But I think Rose comes out, and I think this is going to be a purely outclassing unanimous decision, or she could even get the finish here. Andrade's chin maybe cracked after that Wei Li knockout.
Yep.
You never know.
The big thing here is it's a 3-round fight. So
that's the only scary thing for me in terms of the easy lines, right? Like, I could definitely see her finishing it, absolutely. But Andrade, I still think is pretty tough. They're gonna be grappling. They're both willing to grapple a little bit too. So, I think at the end of the day, we're looking at Rose. Minus 225, certainly money line, one way or the other. Parlay that with let's say Holloway or Volkanovski, whatever you like in there. But I think Rose is going to come in with a better mindset, as Davidson was saying before. She fights better as the challenger, not as the champ, and she's more motivated this time, I believe, and it's going to allow her to get the win in the 3-round fight.
Yeah, so I'll either say this isn't good for bettors, so you don't want to hear two outcomes, but I'll either say Rose ends up dominating a 3-round fight and wins by decision, or Andrade fucking knocks her out, and potentially that might be Rose's last fight. That's my little getting my little guess.
You could hedge it that way, certainly. And I'm jumping on the Rose train here, guys. So let's call it unanimous hooks in Rose.
I like Rose to win.
Here we go.
Yeah. Okay, great. So next we'll go into a few more of our value bets and maybe some prelims talk as well. First off, Amanda Ribas versus Paige Van Zandt. Van Zandt looking very juicy at plus 550 on Bet365. Who knows where else is going to go up to by the time. Well, can you guys explain to me why this line is like this, or what's going on here? Like, why is Ribas so heavily favored?
So Ribas has a ton of hype. She has 3 wins in the UFC, 1 by finish, 2 by decision, but both decisions were very, very unanimous. I think it's a combination of that, the upside of Ribas, and I guess the downside of Paige. Like, how invested is she in fighting right now? She seemed to take a break. She seemed to, focus on her body and her image. And, I watched her on a couple shows. She was on like Chopped and like all these things. Like, she's more of like that, trying to be like a movie star and make some money in a variety of ways and less on the fighting. I lean towards Ribas, and that's what the line shows, right? Like, it shows who is taking it seriously and who isn't. Paige Van Zandt's her last fight on her contract a lot of things could go, sour here. She could get finished. She could lose pretty badly and get beat up in her face and maybe not want to fight anymore. Maybe she moves to another fight promotion. Maybe she retires. My pick here is I'm not going to say Rebus by finish, but I actually like that. But if you look at Paige VanZant's last 6 fights, 5 of them have been finished. So either she finishes or somebody finishes her. Rebus, 4 of her last 6 fights have been finishes. So I think there's going to be a little bit of fire here. Paige has a lot to prove here. And I think she's just not that good. I don't think the hype is there. The line shows it. I think this goes under the 2.5 rounds at +100. I think Rebus chokes her out cold. And I think she either retires or moves on to Bellator or PFL. That's my guess.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Zone, and for a couple of reasons as well. You talking about her last fights, her losses to Jess Clark and Watterson, pretty unspectacular. She didn't look that great, and even her win against Ostovich, and it's not like Ostovich is a top tier fighter. She looked average. It wasn't a dominant win.
No.
She caught Ostovich in an armbar in a fight that was pretty competitive. Another thing that I've been seeing is Paige is pretty heavy into the Instagram. It seems like most of her training has been with her husband in the garage. No training with other girls her size, nothing like that. And let's be honest, how hard is your husband going to beat on you when he's training with you in the garage? Probably not super hard.
Less than in the bed, for sure.
So, yeah, I agree with you there, Zone, and I think that Rebus gets it done.
Sorry,
by submission.
Before anyone else says anything, she has 2 fights in their last 4 years. So, I mean, that tells you what her focus has been on as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't advise taking
arm too, man. She's had her arm broken the whole time.
Yeah, a lot of injuries. That's playing into these odds, I think, as well, guys.
Tit implants.
Yeah, there's no point of taking Rebus money line. That's just silly, right? There's no value there. Yeah. I'm saying take her by, first round, second round stoppage, something like that. You're going to get better value. Or my money's going to be going on her by decision. I think Paige is going to be conservative. She knows how many eyes are going to be on this pay-per-view. She's going to be defensive. She's going to be conservative. And I think she just gets, the 30-27 loss by the judges' scorecard. And that's a +110. So for me, I'm going to do that. I might throw a few bucks on Paige, just money line, get some crazy value. Who knows, right? Puncher's chance, they always say. But, not looking good.
You could hedge it with
That's right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, not the most, I guess, intriguing matchup.
Yeah, or you could get crazy with Paige VanZant +1100 by finish and just go for the gusto there.
She can sneak in an armbar.
Another one of those flying switch kicks that she did to Beck Rollins or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know what I mean? I think that's what I'm going to, I'm not recommending it, but that's what I'm going to be doing for that fight, just for fun.
Crazier things have happened, right? So
yeah, exactly. I mean, she's a professional fighter at the end of the day. Certainly, right. I don't expect her to win, but I don't know. Those odds seem a little too high to me. But I'll jump on to the next one here. We're looking at the main event of the prelims: Volkan Oezdemir, no time versus Yuri Prochazka. Don't know if I'm saying that right. Probably not. But
close.
We're looking at Oezdemir, close enough, -160 Oezdemir, and then Yuri +130. I'm personally, I think it's going to be, again, another firefight. They're both welcome to strike with each other. Neither of them really want to grapple. Oezdemir, if he was, I think if he might be coming with that game plan, but I don't see that happening. I personally am going under under 2.5 rounds at -163. Certainly that's good to parlay with something else as well. I mean, the under at 1.5 +120, you never knew never know. Uzdemir, he booped our boy there, Canadian Misha Serkinov, early in the first round. I think that was even Temple. He was down and out.
Yep.
Jimmy Manua as well. He completely obliterated. Everyone's kind of doing that to Jimmy though these days, so it's hard to tell. But I just think it's going to be the under. What are you guys thinking?
Yeah, so combined, both of these guys have 50 fights between the two of them. 44 of those 50 fights have been finishes in their either by win or by loss. I absolutely love under 2.5 rounds here. And I say 2.5, it could be under 1.5, but 2.5, I like the value at minus 163. It's not like it's some crazy underdog. But 44 out of 50 fights being finished is absolutely insane. Under the 1.5 is plus 120. That could be like one that you hedge with something else, or you make a parlay with something else. What I actually like even more is Uzdemir by finish. So I think it's going to be under the 2.5 rounds, but I think it's going to be Uzdemir that wins. If you look at Prochazka in his career, he has 25. I think it's 25 out of 26 wins or by finish. Like, that's unbelievable. But what quality of competition are we talking about? It's not UFC competition. This is his first fight in the UFC. And I think he's going to come out and bang like he normally does. If you have 25 out of 26 finishes, that's incredible. And I think he gets caught by the better striker, the better fighter. Uzdemir only has 3 losses, and it's against 3 of the best fighters in the entire world. And one of them he actually might have even won, and I think that was against Reyes.
Yeah.
So he's lost to Cormier, Reyes, and what was his other one? It was
Anthony Smith.
Who's one of the best. So 3 losses against amazing competition. He might have won one of those against Reyes. And he's coming off 2 wins, knocked out Alir Atifi, and he dominated, even though it says split decision win, he dominated his last fight. I think it's under 2.5 rounds. I think Uzdemir finishes Prochazka in his UFC debut.
Yeah, what a debut, thrown right into the fire with Yuri there. But yeah, I agree. How do you bet against Volkan? He's clearly cream of the crop in the division. I don't know a ton about Yuri, but it's hard to bet against Volkan here.
Yeah, exactly. And I think Yuri's going to come in there with a little bit too much confidence, right? With his, he's crushing all these other guys, right? But again, his competition is not as good. So he's going to go in there and Volkan's not the guy to do that with. And yeah, but who knows, right? I mean, of course, it's MMA. Anyone can get caught. That's why we're saying the under. But certainly, we're leaning on Volkan due to his experience there.
So, just the last 3 wins for Yuri, just to throw it in, are against 3 guys everybody would probably know. He did finish Muhammad Lawal, who's been in Bellator, Fabio Maldonado and CB Dalloway, both former UFC guys. So these are veteran guys, but they're nowhere near what they were in their prime. So it's hard to stack those guys up against Anthony Smith, Dominic Reyes, and Daniel Cormier.
Something else that comes to mind for me here of guys with a lot of hype coming into the UFC. Eddie Alvarez came into the UFC, got thrown into the fire. Not a great fight for him. And then we just had Ben Askren, obviously had a lot of hype, really did not go well for him, arguably lost to Robbie Lawler too. I think he was out, honestly, and I don't think Robbie got choked out.
Even Gaethje as well.
Gaethje,
came over and struggled a little bit. And now
it's tough coming into the UFC against these high quality opponents on your first fight.
Yeah. Not to mention the card that they're on, right? Like, this isn't some fight night. This isn't some Wednesday night no name.
This is the best card of the year.
Yeah, there's some nerves coming into this, regardless of who you are and what your track record is. So, something to think about.
Yep. And Z, that one fight before, if I could throw in there.
Yeah, just to wrap it up, last prediction of the night, boys. Yeah.
So, Zaleski dos Santos, he has 1 loss in his last bunch of fights, and that was to, let me double check. It was against, I think, Li Jinglang.
Yeah.
It was,
by
yeah.
TKO.
So 8. So he's 8-1 in his last 9. This guy's a really good fighter. He lost to Li, and I think that was overseas. Yeah, it was in China. So really good fighter. 4 of his last 5 have ended in finish. Muslim Salikov, 13 of his last 14 fights have ended in finish. I think this goes under the 2.5 rounds, and that's -110. It's basically straight money. I think these guys both come together and they clash, and they're used to finishing fights. Somebody gets finished. So that's my pick.
All right. Well, to wrap it up, thanks again here, Hookson family, for tuning in this week. Good luck this weekend. Enjoy the fights, and we'll see you next week.
Get ahead of that book. Let's go.
Good luck.
Falling in and out of love, in and out of love with you. Falling in and out of love, in and out of love with you. Falling in and out of love, in and out of love with you. Falling in and out of love, yeah.